Today I will show you a 2020 fantasy, comedy romance movie about two wedding guests stuck in a time loop living the same day over and over again. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. It begins with a goat standing in a vast desert. A sudden explosion made the soil begin to split. Then transitions to a mysterious voice saying, "Wake up." Niles awakens in his hotel room in the desert resort city of Palm Springs with his lover Misty, who is preparing for the wedding of her friend Tala and Abe. He wants to start the day with some intimacy with Misty while she accepts. She isn't really in the mood and they have uncomfortable sex, and she leaves before it is over. She tells him to finish himself off, while he watches her getting changed, however it doesn't work, leaving him sexually frustrated. Niles appears to be dying from the inside and begs Misty to murder him. Instead of getting ready as well though, Niles heads to the swimming pool and drinks beer on a raft while wearing a Hawaiian shirt and shorts and chatting with groomsman Jerry. At the wedding, Misty gives a speech, then prompts Tala's sister, Sarah, to give a speech. She panics since she is a bit drunk and has nothing prepared. She nervously stands up as she tries to think of something to say. Niles swoops in and gives a lovely wedding speech. That includes Tala's donation of bone marrow to her brother and her charity work. He also talks about feeling lost and being found, which Sarah feels like it's directed at her. After that, the wedding reception begins and everyone is having a blast on the dance floor. A man named Randy attempts to dance with Sarah, who she rejects, and Niles dances over to her, showing how he perfectly knows every person's moves, as he keeps looking at Sarah, silently asking her to dance with him. When she turns him down, he leaves, but her curiosity has been piqued, so she follows him to another table. As soon as she arrives, he recognizes her perfume, which she hates and she is only wearing because it was a gift from Tala. Sarah thinks that Niles doesn't believe a word of what he said in the speech, and he admits he doesn't. He thinks we are all alone. Niles flirts with Sarah, who worries what his girlfriend would say, until Niles reveals Misty having intercourse with Trevor in their room's window. Niles and Sarah bond and end up making out in the desert, but as they begin to undress, an arrow shoots through Niles' shoulder, causing Sarah to scream in terror. But Niles isn't surprised by this. In fact, he has been expecting it. He starts fleeing while a guy called Roy pursues him, shooting another arrow into his leg. Niles eventually arrives at a luminous cave and begins dragging himself inside. When Sarah comes up to him, he yells not to follow him as he's drawn into the brilliant light. Niles awakens on the same day, not surprised to see the day has reset. He has been trapped in a time loop, experiencing the very same day over and over. He continues his business and is lying in the pool as normal when Sarah appears and demands explanations. Sarah actually followed Niles into the cave and awoke on the wedding day and noticing the same date on her phone and that the wedding was still getting ready. That's when she saw Niles at the swimming pool, and it takes us to the current moment, where Sarah confronts Niles in the water, and throwing cans at him. Tala runs out to see what's going on. She slips and slams her face on the sidewalk, knocking out her front teeth. She later sobs furiously. Sarah, confused and puzzled, goes to Niles to discuss what is going on with them. Niles claims it will happen every day at the same time because they are stuck in an infinite time loop and they will forever be reliving the wedding day from now on. She asks to be escorted to the cave, which will not be accessible until the earthquake occurs and opens the cave. Ignoring Niles' warnings that going into cave or falling asleep won't change anything, it will only reset the day again. She enters the cave and the day resets and she awakes again on the wedding day. She panics and drives away all the way to Texas to her own apartment, where she finally falls asleep, only to wake up the day of the wedding. She rushes to meet Niles and they go for a drive, during which he reveals his time loop scenario and claims he's given up and nothing matters. He does not know what is happening. It could be a glitch in the simulation, or it could be purgatory. Niles explains they have no other choice but to keep on living since dying only resets the day. He claims to have killed himself thousands of times and it did not work. Sarah ignores him and then drives into an oncoming truck, believing it will end everything. The day resets and when they wake on the wedding day, they head to a nearby bar as Sarah comes to terms with her situation. Niles shot darts that he had already mastered as he has been trapped in the loop for so long. Sarah is reminded of the arrows by the darts, and she asks questions about Roy. So Niles tells her the story of how he met Roy. Hundreds of resets ago, when he was still learning how things worked, Roy was a guest at the wedding, and meets Niles during the wedding and they become friends. They take cocaine from Trevor and party all night till they're completely out of it before going to the desert to watch the stars. When Roy told him it was the best night ever and he never wanted it to end, Niles took him to the cave so he would enter the time loop too. Roy walks inside but Niles understands what he's doing at the last minute and attempts to stop him, but it's too late. Roy did not like being in the time loop. Niles tells Sarah that Roy, who doesn't live nearby, would return several days later to torment him as punishment. Sarah suggests confronting him, but Niles doesn't care. Sarah asks him at lunch if he had sex with several persons during the wedding, which he did with the wedding bartender, Darla, and Jerry, to see what another man is like. He admits to have tried and failed with Tala. Then there's Sarah's father, but it turns out he's only kidding. He responds no to her question about whether they've ever had sex. Sarah proposes that they are locked in the loop as punishment because of karma, and the only way out is be selfless, like Tala donating her bone marrow. Sarah interrupts the next wedding ceremony, and whispers something in Tala's ear that devastates her, and left. Sarah awakes again on the day of the wedding, so it didn't work. From then on, Niles and Sarah start spending their days together. Sarah and Niles head to what he calls the safe house since the owners aren't home. They just hang out that day. The two start to accept the time loop and spend time together. They steal an aircraft crashing shortly after taking off. They practice a choreography together and then perform it in the bar, giving everyone the finger before running away. They deceive Randy into walking in on Misty and Trevor, place a bomb inside the wedding cake, they rent some weapons and learn to shoot. Sarah throws a millionth birthday party for Niles at the bar. They also give each other wiener tattoos. Niles and Sarah spend the night camping in the desert. When she asks Niles about what he did before getting stuck in the loop, he says it's been so long that he doesn't remember, but that may be the mushrooms talking, because now they're making them see dinosaurs walking around in the desert. Sarah admits that she was married once and that it did not end well. They raise a glass to pretending not to care, and then they make out in their camping tent. Sarah asks Niles to make love to her. Niles is hesitant but accepts. Sarah awakens the next morning, now showing how she had slept with Abe the night before the wedding, confronted with the mistake she's been trying to escape from. Niles attempts to talk to her about them being intimate, but she ignores everything. She pretends to disregard Niles' questions, bound by guilt. Her attention is on a police car that has been following them for a while. Until they are stopped by a cop, who turns out to be Roy. Sarah takes the cop car and crushed Roy with it. Sarah began to act wildly and happy. Niles is furious with her and they have a big argument. Sarah blames Niles for everything. He reminds her he told her not to go into the cave. Regretting everything, he admits they've slept 1,000 times together. Sarah is surprised that he lied to her, and he claims he did not want to tell her. She swears that she is determined to escape this day and steps in front of a truck to reset the day. Niles searches for Sarah everywhere in the time loop for the following few days, but he can't find her. When the groomsmen are using cocaine in Abe's bedroom one night, Niles smells Sarah's perfume on his pillow and understands what really happened. He attends the wedding and reveals Abe for sleeping with Sarah. He shouts at everyone for mistreating Sarah. Abe grabs him, and they engage in a fight. Niles grabs a fork and stabs Abe's cheek. Later, Niles sits with Jerry and sobs about how much he misses and loves Sarah. Niles visits Roy and requests that he tortures him once again. He sees Roy's happy family. Roy explains that priorities change. He is now aware that he will never see his children grow up. He informs Niles that after Sarah smashed him with the car, he recognized what he was doing to Niles and has chosen not to torture him anymore. He advises Niles to seek out his own happiness. Then Niles requests that Roy kills him one more time. In the aftermath of being hit by a bus, Sarah awoke and confronted Abe about what occurred between them. He starts sobbing and expresses his distress. She spends her days in the time loop studying and investigating quantum physics and general relativity, using books, online lectures and even chatting with scientists directly. Once she feels that she has enough information, she starts taking reading of the cave, and beings experimenting with a goat. She wraps it in explosives, sends it into the cave, and detonating it inside. Niles awoke to see Sarah at his side. He says sorry to her, and she thanks him, but adds that she believes she has discovered a way out of the situation. She says that if they blow themselves up right before the cave drags them in, they'll break the time loop. Like the goat she tested, it wasn't there anymore the following day, as it usually is. Niles is afraid of leaving Sarah, and she wonders if he would pick her if they weren't stuck together. He claims he knows about Abe and is worried, but she claims she can't keep waking up in his bed. She explains she's going and begs him to join her. He declines and asks her to stay with him. Niles breaks up with Misty, and Sarah gives a genuinely touching speech at the last wedding, and warning Abe. Niles is dejected and drinking at the pub as Sarah prepares to leave. He doesn't know how to live outside the loop, but Darla, the bartender, reminds him that no one does. He understands what he must do and steals a vehicle to reach Sarah. He catches her just before she enters the cave and tells her that she really is his favorite person he has ever met and that he would rather die with her than live in a world without her. She wants to know, what if they become tired of each other? He responds, they already are tired of each other. Sarah tells him she loves him as much, and they kiss and enter the cave. Sarah detonates the bombs just before they are pulled in. The scene shifts to Niles and Sarah at a poolside of the safe house. When the owners of that house arrive and ask as to what the two are doing in their pool, Niles discovers that the residents return on November 10th, showing that they have effectively broken the time loop curse. In a mid-credit scene, Roy comes to the wedding and informs Niles that he received Sarah's message about the wacky idea and wonders whether it may truly succeed. When Niles has no idea who he is, Roy smiles as he realizes that the plan works. That's it for Palm Springs. What about you? What would you do in a time loop? Comment your thoughts down below and leave a like and subscribe. Make sure to stay connected and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.